ESPN put out a couple of lists this week, and it was sort of based on who's set up best for the next 3 years and who's set up worst for the next 3 years, based on sort of your prospects, who you have in the mix right now, your cap space, just sort of what you should expect over the next 3 years for, I guess you'd call it power rankings for whatever, but you're sort of trying to predict what they have now, what they will be, and use this cap space. So I don't think we need to go in depth on every one of these. So let me just run through the top 10 first, and then we can kind of dive into whichever ones stand out to you. But the top 10 teams that you should expect to be good for the next 3 years based on these ESPN predictions. Number 1, New Jersey Devils. Number 2, Carolina Hurricanes. Number 3, Buffalo Sabres. Number 4, the Detroit Red Wings. Number 5, Seattle Kraken. Number 6, Dallas Stars. Number 7, the Minnesota Wild. Number 8, the Vegas Golden Knights. Number 9, the Columbus Blue Jackets. And number 10, the Los Angeles Kings. We can start anywhere you want here, but who jumps out at you as either, yeah, you nailed that, or that's fucking brutal, or...
Well, there's a couple things, right? The Golden Knights, I'm surprised to see in the top 10 based on...
Yeah, they're at number 9.
Yeah, but based on their...
Sorry, number 8.
Their roster, the cap space...
Aging a little, they don't have... Now, some of that maybe is just prediction that they just ruthlessly got whoever they want and make some moves, but I'm with you in terms of cap space, in terms of prospects. Maybe what they have right now coasts long enough through 3 years, but...
Yeah, well, and you look at it and you go, there's lots of flaws there. And it was interesting...
Well, for a Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah, right. But you're going to run that same goaltending back and
yeah, I guess,
and see how that goes.
Yeah.
We'll see. But to me, I was sort of interested in, because as you suggested in the article, the 4 categories they break it down into, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you break that down?
I did not. No, I just sort of loosely ran through cap space, players that you have right now, prospects.
Right, and so it was roster, current roster, prospects, cap space / contracts, and ownership / GM / coaching.
The franchise.
And they sort of said they weighted it. Now, I would be interested to see how they weighed it, because they said current roster 35%, prospects 25%, and then sort of 20-20 for the other two.
Right.
It seemed like those who had flaws in some of the less important categories, according to the weight, got penalized quite heavily. Like it didn't seem the way, however they were weighing it, didn't really seem to make that much of a difference. So,
well, like there's some of these, like you pointed out Vegas right away. I think that's right to think. I'm not sure they have 3 more elite years left in this group. But you look at number 1, New Jersey, you go, yeah, I get that. Like, that's a team who has already arrived with elite talent on good contracts with more prospects to come.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, those guys are going to be a problem for a while. Carolina, I'm not sure I quite see quite the same way. I like what they have now, but this is sort of their window now.
Right, but it also says that, and I didn't look at Carolina's, the 4 categories, how it was broken down. They like the current roster as a team that either won the Metro or was top 2 in it.
Yeah, won the Metro.
They like the coaching and the GM, obviously. They like the way that roster is constructed. They feel like that there is no huge and onerous contracts, right? And that there's enough prospects still around.
Yep.
What it says to me in Vegas, that's an aging roster that you can't not like it
right now.
But am I going to like that in 2 years?
Right.
Like if Mark Stone does not play another full season again.
Pietrangelo getting up there. You've dealt away Riley Smith.
Yeah. You can't love the prospects they have there.
No.
They couldn't get a goaltender. They weren't.
Well, and they just deal, right? Like,
and so you got to think
that was the right thing to do in Vegas. Get up and running. Like it's been beautiful.
Of course.
But long term, I don't.
They obviously love Kelly McCrimmon and
the ownership for sure.
And the ownership and what they've done there, right? So to me,
surprised to see Buffalo at 3 as I move us along here.
Well, and really what I was most surprised about was as an Atlantic Division team who is
on the come,
Ottawa, to look at Buffalo and Detroit as contemporaries.
Yeah.
Right?
And Ottawa does not make this top 10.
Does not make this top 10 and actually 15. To see Detroit and Buffalo 3 and 4, I think. Right? Certainly top 5, both of them.
Yes.
that was shocking to go, what is it that you like so much about those? And I didn't look more in depth because it was interesting to see.
See, I there's nowhere over the next 3 years where I see Detroit being better than Ottawa, and that pains me to say.
Do you see anywhere that Detroit in the next 3 years is better than Toronto? Certainly not.
Probably not, but I get, again, Tavares getting older, some contract issues. There's not a ton of prospects. I sort of see why Toronto is not in the top 10, but I would definitely have dropped Detroit down a few. I'm just not as high on what Detroit's built as. And they're going out, they're bringing in your Cops and your, what's his name, Ben Sherratt. And I don't know what they're doing there. I really don't.
There's a lot of stopgap stuff going on there. They brought him, this year they've just sort of redone. Cop was a year ago,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
And they brought in Nedeljkovic a year ago. We're talking about, and they brought in Mark Stahl a year ago. There was all these sorts of, and they've just redone that this year.
Yes, they're doing it again. They brought in, what's his name there from Colorado to play in their top 6.
Something
like that.
JT
JT
You're right.
Comfort,
yeah. What was that?
So, and you're just sort of like, these are fine guys, but is this better than what Ottawa's doing? Is this better than...
And I can only imagine that they like what the prospect pool is better in Detroit. So. And they can only say that they like the contracts, not locked into a bunch of long distance.
Better than
they like, come on, man. But yes, these sorts of things, I think Ottawa's roster is better than Detroit's roster right now.
Yeah. Maybe not a ton. Like a lot of Ottawa's prospects have already graduated. It's time to take that turn. Maybe there's not a lot left. I thought number 5, the Kraken, they took a step here last year that no one expected them to take. They haven't had time to build up a huge shed of great prospects. So that one was a little confusing to me. 6 was Dallas. Yeah, fine. They got some young pieces there.
They still got Sega and Ben.
They're going to fall off a little, but you do have Robertson. You do have
Eskinen.
Yeah, and Wyatt Johnston last year stepped up. They're going to be fine. 7, Minnesota is confusing to me. I guess they're coming out of cap hell, right?
Yeah,
they do have Matt Boldy.
It is this year and the next 3 years.
That's right. 8, Vegas, we touched on. 9, Columbus. Maybe. We've seen so many false starts there, but
Columbus is a bit of a dog's breakfast, though. Do you really know what to expect with those guys?
No, I don't, and I don't mind. I think Provorov's a piece of shit, but I think he can probably play on
number 1 piece of shit.
Second pair, the kid they brought or the guy they brought out of Jersey.
That guy.
Yeah,
Damon Severson.
He's fine, but is over the next 3 years.
Yeah, he was super fine in a 5-6 in New Jersey, right? Which is where if you put him in with somebody,
now he's going to be playing higher in that. So I don't know. And then 10 is LA. I like LA to be a good playoff team, but I don't have them getting ready to contend when I look at their pieces, right? I just...
It seemed like
they'll contend now, but there's no prospects pushing up, no elite. I think a lot of people have sort of soured on Quentin Byfield.
Well, do you know what they're doing in goal this year?
No, I don't.
They brought in Korpisalo last year. They've let go. Quick obviously went over to Vegas.
Yeah, Cal Peterson's off to Philly.
They got rid of Cal Peterson, and so they were. That was a huge black hole for them last year as a team that defended really well.
A little more Phoenix Copley.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I don't either.
And so
I know they have Cam Talbot.
So to me, the teams that were hindered most were those who had glaring issues. For Ottawa, kind of middle of the road, upper. They were 10th in prospects, which is weird.
I think that's too high.
It is too high.
Yeah,
because to me, their prospect
their guys have arrived,
and there isn't a pile down there.
Yeah. Stützle, Sanderson, Kachuk,
Norris, Batherson,
all these guys.
Yes. And so, down there they have really Greg maybe, and they have Soderberg.
Sure, yeah.
To me,
and Sogard.
Sogard, not Soderberg.
No.
Mads, the Great Dane.
Yes.
So you are looking at...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Crazy Dutch bastard.
And everybody else they're trying to get rid of to staple to Matthew Joseph to sort of... Yaravente, Boucher, can I get you both of them? Lassie Thompson, whatever. Just stapling them to them, just whatever.
For a perfectly usable player.
Yeah, but making $3 million bucks and for another 3 years.
Yeah.
But you are talking about they had them ranked 28th in ownership, GM, coaching, right? So that 28 is a huge drag on your
100%
as you go down, right? So the teams that were not penalized greatly in any one area, I think are those teams that make the top 10. Not necessarily the teams you think are going to compete really in the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Do you want to take a look at the bottom 10 here?
I for sure do, but there wasn't a pile surprising in there. But you can read
in the bottom 10?
In the bottom 10.
Ooh, I think I disagree with you there.
Well, I'm prepared to be disagreed with.
I'm prepared to be disagreeable.
Yes, for sure, 100%, man.
I show up with that every Sunday. So over the next 3 years, at number 32, your Calgary Flames. 31, Vancouver Canucks. Number 30, the Islanders. Number 29, the San Jose Sharks. 28, the Washington Capitals. 27, the Montreal Canadiens. 26, the St. Louis Blues. 25, the Flyers. 24, the Bruins. 23, the Arizona Coyotes. That's 10.
So what in there jumps out at you?
Calgary is not the worst team in the league for the next 3 years. Even if you don't like...
Who are you putting there?
I'd probably just shove the Coyotes back in there.
Were you surprised that Chicago?
No, I think they expect another bad year this year to add a good player to the Connor Bedard show. And
they have...
And stable ownership. As you've pointed out, some of these things drag you up, some of them drag you down, right? And so I think...
This is the same team that thought that,
Okay, stable is not the same as responsible.
Okay, look at Matt.
Morally responsible or stable.
All right. And the GM. Look at the GM. He's a second-year GM.
Yeah. Yeah, he's able to walk around the draft and take fan videos.
And people don't even know who they go, fuck that Chicago GM. Right. And you're like, yeah, I hate that guy too. And you're like, oh, it's me.
But like for me, the Flames is the one that jumps out at me the most because even if you think they're about to go off a cliff, and I do think that's possible, it's not yet. I think last year was an aberration. I think between Markstrom and Vladar, they'll be fine. I think between Shillington, Anderson, and Weegar on the back end, they're going to be fine. I don't know whether Lindholm gets locked up long term. That's a huge part of this. But Huberdeau won't be this bad again.
No.
Like he was. Kadri will be fine, right? Like,
yep.
I just... There's no part of me that thinks you should expect the Calgary Flames to be the most embarrassing franchise in the league for the next 3 years.
All right, and I'll give you that. And to me, I look at them and go...
Give it to me, I'm taking it.
They are that on the bottom end of that creamy middle of non-competitive, which is death. But does that make them 32?
Will not shock me at all if they make the playoffs this year, especially if Lindholm is still kicking around.
Because that, to me, that the West is top heavy.
Yeah.
Right, in terms of really good teams. And then there is a lot of...
And then there's Mod.
And then there's Mod. You can't do that without nodding your head, too. It is. There's a lot of dookie at the bottom of that.
Well done, man. The Canucks is probably also too low, but...
I love how fat your tongue got there just a second ago.
I was sipping on a little something over here. The Islanders, yeah, I could see that. I could see that going south in a hurry. Lou loves his... I don't know if Parisi's showing up to training camp again this year. Sorokin would be the only thing that would keep them from being...
terrible.
Potentially an embarrassment here within the next couple of years. The Sharks, I guess, you'd like to see them start to take some steps forward, but they haven't really started to add those pieces yet.
I don't even think they've bottomed out yet.
Ooh, man. In Dom's article there on The Athletic, and I frequently leave his last name because it's hard to say. He's suggesting this could be the worst blue line in NHL history this year in the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is they still have Couture, they still have Hurdle, and you are...
Vlasic.
Okay. That's part of the...
A flaccid Vlasic.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not.
But Couture has said, hey, you know what? I may be open to moving if you can find... Like, I think those two chips...
Yeah.
They will bottom out when you've gotten rid of those last couple of...
How much further is there to bottom after last year?
Well, you got no Carlson scoring 100 points.
It's an important 100 points.
So that is pluck right out. And then you get rid of those other two really good players. I think Hurdle has lots still to go. Couture may be
Yeah.
On hole 10 or 11, 12 in the golf course analogy, right? On the back nine. He's not necessarily near the end, but he
could help somebody.
For sure he could.
Middle
but
six guy.
That is, you could flip that guy for a first. I would be surprised if he couldn't get at least that.
I'm wondering about the Canadians at 27 because I do believe they're a ways away still from contending.
They're better than last year, though.
And stable ownership. And apparently everyone's still got a hard-on for Marty St. Louis as a coach. I'm surprised they're this low. They're going to be better, and they're like all the things that should put a drag on them. Although I look at them and I go, I don't know what great prospects you've built up, right? Like, did you bottom out enough?
Well, and see, are you prospects or are you rosters? And they said in the article they're focusing on under 26-year-old sort of roster pieces. So that takes away Caulfield, Suzuki.
Caulfield's under 26.
Yeah, but they're not prospects.
No.
They're roster pieces, right? Is all I'm saying is, so it really comes down to they clearly don't believe in something there, right? There's a bunch of things happening.
Ooh, I can get on board with that.
Yeah, but I if you're 27, that means they're in the 20s on 2 or 3 of those 4 brackets.
Yeah. Right in this neighborhood, we have the Washington Capitals and the Boston Bruins. The Bruins, to me, are going to take a step back. I'm not sure it's as like that blue line is going to be still good for a while.
Yep.
Right, McAvoy and Lindholm. Hampus Lindholm.
Yep.
I don't know how far they're going to. Again, stable management, stable ownership. Like as you factor all these things in. 24 is the Bruins. 23 is the Coyotes. And I do think they might be approaching getting ready to turn the corner, but their drag is ownership and management and all this stuff.
Man. Well, and Tournier's a great coach, I think. Andre Tournier.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a really great coach, but you're playing in a university arena. The ownership, would you be surprised if they flip that out to somebody else in Kansas City or in Houston? Or
yes. This guy's taken a shit kicking for a while financially, trying to make it work. He's still saying he's going to find himself a property there in Arizona. So
you've exhausted opportunities A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Yeah.
So fat chance.
Okay.
But to see them ahead of, and clearly the Bruins and the Caps, they are teams
aging out
and last gasp. Like the Caps to me are going to be joke-ish
this year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My man Rasmus Sandin not swaying you.
Not moving the needle.
Top pair Rasmus Sandin.
Yeah.
Top power play Rasmus.
Point proven.
Yes. Okay. So just some interesting things there. To me, I look at that. And I go, despite the fact that you have become the league's national broadcaster in the United States, some of your writers still do not know shit about hockey.
Well, this is the same group that when they were talking about season projections for skaters, had Jake Sanderson at 16 points, had Brad Marchand at 43 points.
Brad Marchand at 43 points?
Yes.
This year?
This year coming up. That's an ESPN prediction.
Oh, man, that's a curb stomp worthy prediction.
So all I'm saying is, you got to take all that with
Brad Marchand with Pasternak and my boy Pontus Holmberg is still putting up 70 points, right?
Yeah. If 70 was the number I used. If he gets below 70, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in the 40s in the ESPN predictions.
Yeah.
So this is what you need. All the oxygen that Matt and I have just expended.
Well,
here.
and this is why, to poke holes in some
of course. Yeah. And all I'm saying is you have to look at it with. There's a lot of variables there.
Yeah, 100%.
And one of the variables maybe these people don't know what we're talking about.
They haven't had enough beers like we do before we get in here.
Do it!
And bring the knowledge. I think that's it for today, man.
I think we've done enough damage.
We really, yes, that's right.
That's it. I cannot work under these conditions. If anybody wants me, I'll be downstairs at McDougal's. Call the weekend guy. I don't care.